I was talking about phallic symbols and phalluses because my
in general with your son.
Wait, are you testing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. There are plenty of Schwarzenegger MP3s out there to choose from. We can just select a few as appropriate as needed. So you mentioned you were talking about penises with your son.
So he's at that age where like everything reminds him of bathroom stuff. It's like that looks like everything is penis. If he wants to get someone to laugh, he just says penis. I'm not saying I taught him that, but
I mean, does that ever go away?
No, because he learned it from watching me. So he said something like that, and like my father, I'm always looking for opportunities to teach my kids language, like new words and what things mean. It's like it's ongoing. I've been going through it my whole life.
Right.
So I do it to my children. It's an abuse that's like grammatical in nature, and so I said that is some phallus, and then I go, do you know what a phallus is? He goes, what is that? I'm like, that's the Latin for the word, like it's like a penis. So if something it looks like a penis, we call it a phallic symbol. And then my wife was like, what the hell are you talking about? I said, I'm teaching him Latin.
Prepare for a call from the school soon.
I already got one for him cursing in German.
Really?
Yeah.
You have smart kids.
I said Scheisse. I always say, curse in German around the kids.
Right.
And then they figured it out. And then he said it at school or something. And the teacher must have known what he was saying. And he says, my dad taught me how to do it.
They always sell you right down the river.
It's know, like, man.
They flip like the FBI is like twisting their arm. It's crazy.
Well, I've got something to say. And we're back.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Recovery in the Middle Ages, the podcast about two middle-aged suburban dads and their pursuit of life, love, and recovery. I'm Nat.
And I'm currently Mike.
And boy, do we have a show for you.
Oh, yeah. Boy, do we have a show for you.
Yeah. And some cool music here. While I do the Today on RMA, something with like strings. Today on RMA.
I don't think so. I think I'm going to leave it just like that.
Nat and Mike discuss Recovery Elevator creator Paul Churchill's book.
He's calling me from Louisiana.
Alcohol is Shit in this multi-part RMA Book Club special edition. And Mike goes all HGTV on our asses and plans to build a treehouse. All this and more on a very special edition of RMA. All right, we're back.
I think I'm missing a page.
What page are you missing?
It says wrap up on the next page, so I think we might be a little out of...
God damn it.
Are we done already?
No, but, it's like one of the... Okay, here's what happened. I was printing out the thing this morning, and my laptop was taking too long. I'm going to print it out again, I guess.
Don't print it out.
Okay.
I'll just reorder
It was
the
taking
pages.
forever to print out. So
it's not like the people listening to us have anything else to do than watch me reorganize the outline. But that's fine.
Yeah, but... So
Jesus,
I printed it on my...
up, dude.
I couldn't wait, right, for it to print. I was waiting for the computer, so I said, fuck it, I'm going to
print
just...
it backwards. That's what it is.
Yeah, so I printed one on my phone, and then as soon as the computer caught up, I printed it on the...
Why don't you do the housekeeping while I'm doing this?
Right. Visit us at middleagesrecovery.com. And visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Just search Recovery in the Middle Ages and all our pages magically appear. Great reviews will be read on the show. Okay. Open your Apple Podcast app, search for our show, click the Drunk Monk, scroll down to where it says reviews.
The Drunk Monk.
That's what I call them.
That's the name of our bar.
I came up with that last
night.
Once
we relapse when we buy a bar.
Then click, write a review, give us 5 stars, and say how much you love us. Tell us your story by logging on to middleagesrecovery.com. Scroll down and fill out our Your Story form, and you could hear your review read on the air. Is new merch available?
New merch is apparently available. Send us a message on our Facebook group or email Mike R at middleagesrecovery.com for details. As soon as Nat tells me what the new merch is, your email will be answered.
Brand new merch. It's going to be very exciting.
Did you
What?
Order like tie-dyes or something?
I didn't order anything.
No.
I'm just, okay. This is just, I'm talking things.
Hey,
I just want him to buy the shirts we made.
Do you remember that guy a couple weeks ago who was like, hey, love the show. Where's my shirt?
Yeah.
Did you send him a shirt?
No. I thought you sent him a shirt. I was like, oh, I'll check on it.
This is a different guy.
Ah, fuck.
I sent the shirt to Jeff from Tacoma, now of Alabama. There was another guy.
Yeah, I vaguely remember.
Sorry, guy. I apologize for. I saw your email.
Does he get a free shirt, or is this like a?
Well,
we want money
I think
for
we
it?
ought to fucking send him a free one now.
Shit. All right. I'm sorry. You are getting a shirt.
Otherwise, no one's gonna.
No, I think I wrote him back. Please send me your address. Didn't I write back? Because we can both look at that.
That was Jeff, I think.
Shit. Okay. I'm
Anyway,
very, very sorry.
guys. But I promise if you send an email to me, I will send you a shirt.
Yeah. We both have our duties. I do certain things and Mike does certain things. And
Can we hold for 1 second?
hold, please.
Sorry about that, folks.
Yeah. So how was your week? Let's.
We're doing my week first.
Well, I write it. Well, because I feel bad when I'm doing the outline, that's part of my job.
Mm-hmm.
It's me, and I'm a narcissist. So I'm always putting my stuff first. And then I was thinking last night.
Fucking drug addicts. I cannot stand it.
An alcoholic will steal your wallet, and an addict will steal your wallet and then help you look for it.
Okay. So
how's your week?
So my week started pretty poorly. Sunday, I got a text from an old neighbor who told me that, who still lives in the near the house I grew up in, who told me that apparently they are going to be tearing the house down and building some sort of monstrous...
Your ancestral home?
Monstrous mega mansion, McMansion in its place.
Jeez. Is that the ancestral home of Mike?
Yes, well, at least since my family goes way back on that piece of land, all the way back to 1964. When my father had the house built.
It's a long ass time ago.
And so I grew up there, with my sister and my parents, and so it kind of affected me more than I thought it was going to, because usually I don't spend a lot of time ruminating about the house I grew up in. I run past it occasionally because I only live like 5 miles away from it right now. But
wait. You grew up. That's right. I forgot you grew up near here.
Where did you think I grew up?
I don't know. I pictured like someplace in Idaho.
It's funny. I was just talking to somebody from Idaho yesterday.
So that's interesting.
So I immediately get in the car and I drove back over there. Like, I don't know what I expected to see. They had not started tearing it down yet, but they had tied red ribbons around certain trees they were removing, and the house itself looks like nobody lives in it right now. So
you should buy it. That'll be the ultimate full circle.
It came up for sale a couple of years ago. Yeah. And I crunched the numbers, but this being, a bedroom community outside of New York City, the numbers were crunching me rather than the other way around.
Living here is such a nightmare.
I mean, and taxes are $30,000 a year on that.
Yeah, so, that's one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to decline, but I'm I told my sister about it, and she got even more upset. And the more I think about it, I'm like, I didn't have a particularly joyous childhood in that house. It was okay, but
It's still your childhood, though.
It is, and so I want to leave a letter for the new owners to see if they'll let me walk through it before they send the wrecking ball over, just so I can get some video, maybe. But, do you think that's a weird request? Like, if you got that request, would you be like, I don't want this guy walking around my house?
No, I would honor it.
Yeah,
I would. That would be something that I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I mean, that you could do that for somebody.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, because apparently they're nice people.
Can you live stream it on our Facebook page?
I should, right?
We need material.
That's true.
We're going to do more. Well, I haven't talked to you about this yet.
We are.
But all my favorite podcasters, well, some of them, in any case, the ones that do paranormal stuff, like Jim Harold's Paranormal Podcast. It's a plug for you, Jim. He's got a huge podcast. He doesn't listen to this.
Jim's not going to hear that.
He's definitely not going to hear it. He writes me back sometimes on Facebook, but he will arbitrarily do a live stream, be like, hey, I'm just catching you up. And, and he'd do paranormal trivia and stuff like that.
This would be great if anybody was paying attention to our Facebook page.
Maybe they would if we did something on it.
Yeah, so they could see us. So what are you drinking over here? I'm looking at this as a Starbucks product, but it has triple the amount of caffeine.
Triple shot energy, extra strength.
Wow. I didn't know they made such a thing.
Well, I don't know. It tastes good. And sometimes I don't want to sip a hot coffee.
No, I understand. The weather is turning.
I still need my caffeine.
Okay. Sorry.
It was funny. I was on one of these boards, maybe it was Dopey Nation, and somebody was asking a question like, has anybody here actually been completely sober of everything?
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Right? And then they got to including caffeine. And of course, this is insanity. And so somebody said, yeah, well, I used to be up to 600 milligrams of caffeine a day. And the guy's like, oh, I usually, keep trying to keep it under 250. And it was like, man, I commented like only addicts think of their coffee drinking in terms of milligrams.
Right. Milligrams of caffeine.
Right. Like only an addict would say that.
It's funny though, as you get older, like I had a couple days last week where I overdid it on the coffee a little bit, and it turned me into a fucking lunatic. Like not in a good way. Like I felt like I was jonesing, like I needed to go out and buy some Coke or something. Like, it was just a very weird feeling. I was not comfortable with that.
It's a very powerful drug. In fact, when I was like really in the depths of my early recovery, and I do mean depths, like I was locked down in every sense of the word, no driving, nobody trusted me, I had no bank cards. It was like that. I had been stripped of everything that makes me a free man, except for not being in jail at that time. And on top of it, I was also in a kind of a prison of medicines because they had determined
a lattice work of neuropharmacology.
It was because I was in an outpatient, and then in the outpatient I had a psychiatrist, and then we had a group, and there was a therapist, and I was going to 12-step, and so they were really trying to figure this out. Like, what is up with this guy? Why does this person who seemingly has a normal life prior with no major traumas, why is he continuing to relapse? Why is he continuing to destroy his life? So they, of course, determined that I must, be bipolar, clinically depressed, all that stuff, insomnia, and, couldn't control, and substance use disorder, all of that stuff. So I was on enough medication to, tamp all that down. Like my impulse control was completely out of whack. And so I was on Depakote, like 1,000 milligrams.
That sounds like a lot of milligrams of whatever that is.
Yeah, 1,000. Depakote is, it's bipolar disorder medication. It basically reduces your highs and reduces the lows. So it brings you a little more level.
Right.
So you can sort of not be crazy. And I was on all that stuff, and I should have been, a little bit more, not depressed, but I was still exhibiting.
Not so hyper, not so
right.
up.
So I was still exhibiting signs of, and then the psychiatrist, who was a really interesting character, he was like an old Freudian psychiatrist. He might have been 90, very sharp though. I love talking to this guy. And he started being like, well, how much caffeine do you take? And I was like, I don't know. I drink like maybe 16 ounces of black coffee before I get to work. And then, 3 or 4 cups throughout the day. And he's like, and he said, man, I've seen patients on like, the heaviest, like lithium and stuff like that they put on people who are in psych wards, drink coffee enough to break through the medication. That's how powerful caffeine is. And he says, you need to cut. And then ever since then, I've cut down severely. That's a long discussion.
Yeah, it's a long discussion about caffeine. But that's interesting that it is the drug of choice at AA meetings, that pots of, you get your commitment, you show your commitment to the program by coming and making coffee. Yeah. By making drugs for
I even started drinking tea at meetings at the time. I was going to 7 meetings a week, and I stopped drinking the coffee there. And then I started sleeping.
The coffee was never very good at the meetings I went to.
No, especially when I was the one making it. I always had a job at the meetings. I always would, I'd take the garbage out at the end, or, and so I was cleaning the coffee pot more than I was making the coffee.
Yeah, I did a coffee thing in AA.
Coffee commitment. They call it a coffee commitment.
They do. I used to go for the cookies, though.
Yeah.
I did it all for the cookie.
I like the cookies. So what did you do? What did you do? Oh, I had a relaxing Sunday.
Oh, you did?
So it was raining.
That sounded natural, huh?
Yes. My kids are in sports now. Every kid is in every sport all at once right now. It's chaos. And there was supposed to be a soccer game. And I was like, it was raining. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm like, I just don't want to do anything. So after church, we went to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes, I've been. Interesting place. Not really my scene.
No, but it was it was good to just go out with the wife and kids, just somewhere to do something. You know what I mean?
Eating greasy wings is a good time passer on a rainy Sunday.
I'm, of course, on a heavy diet. Is it a heavy diet or a strict diet? A diet of not eating. And by the way, I'm down to 151 pounds from 176.
That is pretty amazing.
And now I'm calling it a food detox when people ask, because when I just say I starved myself, everybody gets a funny look on their face. And nobody likes a skinny guy. They're always like, you're too skinny. Look at you. You need to eat a sandwich. Have a sandwich, would you?
Just keep going the way you're going. Eventually you'll disappear, which
Don't
is
you
probably
have
your goal.
Bagels where you're from? Don't you want to smear a cream cheese? The answer is no. I don't want to smear a cream cheese. I like my bagels toasted with sliced Nova lox and a dollop of whitefish salad.
And nothing else on the bagel?
That's it.
What kind of a
It's amazing.
fucking Philistine are you?
It's a $17
you need to add cream cheese to that.
I hate cream chease with a freaking flaming
just a
passion.
smear. Just a little bit.
Cream cheese for me is just, it ruins everything.
Put butter on it then.
Butter. Yeah. One day I'll let you try half of one.
Listen, I have eaten every permutation of bagel known to man living on Long Island. And the idea of putting Nova and whitefish salad on a dry bagel.
No, toasted.
Yeah, even worse.
The Nova, if it's good, has like oils and stuff. It's not like dry.
I don't know.
You got to have
Throw
good
a slice
Nova.
of tomato on there, maybe.
Maybe some tomato. All right. This is enough.
Anyway, so you went to Wild Wings, and you sent me a picture from there of this old woman in a Golden Girls jacket sitting in front of a line of keg taps. That was probably like 30 of them.
So we're sitting there at the table, and I look over in the bar at Buffalo Wild Wings. I think this is a national chain, so everybody can appreciate this. There's like 100 beer taps, and it's whatever time it was, like 2:00.
Definitely not after 5.
No, and I got to post this picture now. I wasn't sure I wanted to do that, but it's not her face, but it's just
definitely not.
It's a woman, I don't know, in her 60s or 70s, in a full on like jogging setup, get up thing, like those like jogging suits.
It's very 90s Long Island,
right? But it had this portrait, like a cartoon portrait of the Golden Girls, and it said the Golden Girls.
Yes.
And it was amazing. And I took a picture of it, so maybe we'll post that.
And what was Blanche drinking? What did she have?
Blanche Dubois. Did I say this last week? Because we're studying Streetcar Named Desire.
I believe it. You did.
Okay. And Blanche Dubois is actually from Streetcar, and that's where they got the inspiration on the Golden Girls.
Either
for
that
Blanche
or you
Dubois.
said it to me on a text. See, here's the thing. I don't remember.
I don't remember nothing. That's why I write everything down.
So, okay. So let's not leave the listener in suspense any longer.
No.
Did you drink beer at Buffalo Wild Wings?
Absolutely.
Or did you not?
Absolutely no drinking.
Okay.
I was not even remotely enticed.
That place just grosses me out, to be honest with you. Like the beer thing going on in there.
Yeah,
it's not. I mean, the food. Their chicken tacos are pretty good because they have chopped bacon in them, which is always a good thing.
It's a good idea.
The wings, I don't know. I can't eat their wings.
Why?
I like Hurricane's wings better. If we were talking about shitty wings.
My wife's like aunt's son owns a Hurricane Wings nearby.
Sias? Bah.
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. That place,
does it suck? I don't know. I don't know anything about.
I was just going to say, once all of the bars in Syosset closed down, that became the bar. So that's where everybody goes to get shit-faced now. So I take the family there for dinner occasionally.
And everybody's wasted?
And the whole bar, it's like they took the Shamrock Pub and moved it, into Buffalo.
Interesting.
Hurricane.
Yeah, the in-between closed.
The in-between closed. Yep. The Shamrock Pub closed. The Upper Deck closed.
Wow.
There are no bars in Syosset anymore.
So that's good. I mean, it's sort of like one of those fake aunts that's just like close to the family, and it's her son. Oh. And I don't know. We came home afterwards, and the kids just went on their machines, which I hate to do, but sometimes Nat needs a break.
Plug them in. That's it.
And we had a cool morning. They were good at church, and I said, you know what, fine. And the wife and I actually did something we haven't done in a long time, and it wasn't that.
Oh,
it was watch TV together.
Oh,
no,
that's nice.
But it was just we watched a couple of shows. We watched this really cool new show called Made for Love on HBO Max. It's just
that sounds awful.
It's great, man. It's this creepy sci-fi like dystopian future.
That
stuff.
sounds better,
dude. I'm telling you,
What's it called again?
It's called Made for Love.
Made for Love.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got some really good actors in it, and it's like a little funny and dark and like dystopian.
Oh.
Dude, you would love it.
Sort of like America these days.
America. And I took a nap, and that was the point of the story. The headline here is I took a nap.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, now you have Nat taking a nap on the show.
I took a nap. And it was a much
needed refresh. I bet.
It was one of those naps where I woke up for it, and from it, and like my bones were like like no, don't move, and like, it hurt just to move. I was like, oh, that felt good. It hurt so good. Ooh, baby, make it hurt so good.
Okay.
Sometimes what don't feel like it should. Love.
Yeah.
Sometimes love.
I know.
Sometimes love don't feel like it should. So baby, make it hurt so good.
John Cougar.
Mellencamp.
Right.
Very good.
I recall him as John Cougar because that was the age when he splashed onto the scene.
Do you think there was a guy in one of those marketing meetings who was like, what if we just go Cougar?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. And he said later on, once he made his first like $10 million, he's like, fuck this John Cougar shit.
Crap. Where did they come up with that?
And he had a heart attack when he was like 25 or something. It was crazy.
That's weird.
Crazy
story. Yeah, I wonder if that was drug related.
I don't know.
So are you considering building a treehouse? I mean, I sold that pretty hard in the intro.
Even though I have no idea how to build a treehouse. So here's the thing. My wife has been busting my balls about building a treehouse for years.
But she's very cool, remember?
Oh, yeah. She's great.
And happy birthday, too.
But so, I mean, when my wife busts my balls, it is a very light bust. It is just an accumulation of things over a certain period of time.
It's a gentle kick in the nuts.
She may give me an idea that I might want to go out and build a treehouse, right?
It's very passive-aggressive.
So for the last few years, I've been getting that message. And it's always been like, because I don't know, you ever watch like that treehouse show on A&E? Nelson Treehouse,
yes.
The guy builds these fantastic
He's like way
treehouses.
Into it.
Yeah.
He's the blonde guy. Looks like it's from a Christopher Guest like mockumentary guy. Best in Show.
Yeah,
Spinal
right.
Tap.
It could be, sure.
The guy who did Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
It's like one of those.
But so I finally, the other day, I'm like, how do I go about building a treehouse? I pay somebody on Etsy $40 for plans because I have one tree.
Couldn't find that?
No.
What does it have to be specific to your trees?
Yes,
in that?
because my tree is like up against a fence, so that the platform has to come out on one side.
Jesus, man.
Right? And so I download these plans and I'm reading through them and I'm like, I can't build this fucking
This
tree.
is plans for the Death. It's like plans for the Death Star. You need a legion.
I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can get the hardware. I can get not the software. I can get
the software.
I can get the wood. I can have it all delivered to the house. And then I need to figure out how to put it all on the tree without killing myself or one of the kids when it's done.
And you sort of tentatively asked me to help you. And
very tentatively.
For full disclosure, my wife does the spackling of things in the house. I don't know how to spackle. So if like a door opens and there's a hole in a wall, she's the one that spackles because it's just not me.
Speaking of wives getting spackled, our wives are going out tonight. They're going to
it's an unfortunate euphemism.
Oh, did that mean something else?
It could,
didn't even occur to me. I did, honestly. My brain doesn't work that way. Oh. I'm sorry.
Hey, we both have 10-year-olds. You don't hear this all day long from the kids. They're ridiculous.
Not my kids. Maybe your kids are 10 going on 50.
Dude,
I don't know.
Noah is ridiculous.
Anyway, so they're going out to have a girl date or whatever you call it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? And my wife, Christine, reminded me that they were friends before.
Of course.
Is that true?
They set us up on that blind date to go to the Yes concert.
That's right. And if you don't know about that story, go back, I think, to the first episode when we discussed it. It was funny. But yeah, so they were like mom buddies, like they met because our kids are the same age.
Right.
And your wife was like the Cub Scout leader. Mm-hmm. And then so the few times that they, you talk to people, it's like, oh, she's cool. And yeah. And then now they're hanging out and we're not.
Do you know where they're going?
No.
I do.
Where?
They're going to that restaurant down the block where the outside seating is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's paying for that?
You and me, apparently.
What the hell? I didn't approve of this.
Hey, listen, they both have jobs. They have their own money. So
that is
they're
true.
Paying for their own fun.
Yeah. I see.
Think of what an antiquated sexist comment we just made.
It really was.
Who's paying for that?
Well, I was just...
We're both going to get in trouble.
My tongue was firmly planted in my cheek.
Okay.
Tongue in cheek, people.
So what is this about a possible family trip to Jellystone Park with Mike's family? What is that?
Well, I don't know if anyone's brought this up with you or Aaron, but Christine and I have been mentioning it to one another because we want to go on a trip. To like a different. We're going to Mexico.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, in August. That's done. But there's this
Bring
place.
Sunscreen.
There's this The what?
Bring sunscreen.
Sunscreen.
Mexico in August is
hot. I don't need sunscreen. Look at this. Look at this color that I've got going. I've got like a Mediterranean.
That's what my kids said.
Browning. I completely lost what we were talking about.
Jellystone Park.
So it's just really cool, like sort of like a campground type place where you could either bring your trailer, set up, or they have like lean-tos, or you can even tent camp. They have like a lake to fish in. They have like one of those GABA balls, or what is that game where they run around in circles?
Gaga Pit?
Gaga Pit. They have a Gaga Pit even. And like lots of grounds. It's very cool. They do like laser tag stuff. And we went a couple times. We love it. And she was like, wouldn't that be cool to go with Erin and her family? Yeah. Not Mike and his family. Her family. Well, and because our kids hang out, and we hang out, obviously. Right. And I was like, that would be awesome. But I don't know if anybody ever mentioned it to you. Maybe she mentioned it to
Erin. Erin mentioned it to me. I'm always up for some sort of camping or outdoorsy activities.
We don't have to do you can do pseudo camping where they have these little wooden houses that have like actual beds and plumbing.
I actually like the
I know I do
camping,
too, but
it's fine. I'm also old and cranky, and
you guys can bring a tent too. You can camp outside. Each little house has its own little place to make a fire outside. You could cook your own food.
If there are available flea-infested mattresses that hundreds of other people have slept on, I will go that way. I will do that.
It's good. It's going to be cool. So one of these days we're going to go on a trip together. It'll be fun.
Well, we should do it. Where is it? Is it upstate or downstate?
It's like
in Jersey.
I think it might be
Pennsylvania.
I think it's Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah. I like Pennsylvania.
It's not far.
There's hiking.
2.5. Yeah,
I like to hike.
All of that stuff is at Jellystone, and it's a lot of fun. So maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, we should do that. Are we boring people? Do you think?
I don't know.
I don't know either. You're closing in on your bachelor degree.
Yeah, man.
I'm just trying to move things
Thank
along.
you.
I'm sorry.
I'm graduating, if everything goes the way it should, May 13th. So I'm looking very excited for...
wrong one. Yay.
Thank you. I'm going to have a bachelor in English literature, and now I'm starting to think about what am I going to do with my life? I mean, the store is great. And it's doing great. It's like up 2,700%. That's the number I keep seeing on my reporting. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great if it wasn't just this last 3 weeks.
Hopefully this recovery has legs. I mean, people are talking about a 6% GDP increase over the next year.
If the government keeps cutting us checks, that's a no-brainer.
Well, that's the thing. I think the government's not going to be cutting anybody any checks anymore. Well, so hopefully we can maintain momentum. But this isn't a show about economics and macroeconomics, I hope you're right, and this keeps up, because I think there's pent up demand, and all the kids' sports are all coming back, and
I don't know, and it's one of those things. Like, I'm all right now. I have all the customers I've ever wanted, and now I say, now do I want this? Is this something I want for my life?
Right. That's alcoholic thinking, isn't it?
Yeah. Do I deserve success? But there's so many exciting things that I could do, like. I'm finishing college. I was really, really thinking about getting my master's in social work so I could do private practice therapy.
Be poor with a bigger, better degree.
Yes, that's what I was. That or be a teacher.
Yeah,
I was actually originally.
You would be a great teacher.
I was a music education major for about 3 years at a very prestigious music school upstate, and so I was always. I don't know. It's such a great job around here to be a teacher.
But if you got your MSW, then we could open a rehab and make a ton of money.
That's what I really want to do.
And help people.
And we could have an online community where there's actually someone who's a licensed therapist, that could help.
Let me tell you.
So that would be cool.
It doesn't seem to be stopping people from having online communities.
I know, but I want a little bit of credibility. Besides,
you have credibility.
Yeah, because it's all branding and marketing. This is a facade, Mike. This is all acting.
Again, addict thinking.
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
What is that?
It's imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I am like the poster boy for imposter syndrome.
Well,
my peas are popping.
We should get a pop screen.
Yeah. We used to fashion those in college when we were recording demos and stuff, and we just had like our little Tascam 4-track or whatever, and we would make a pop filter out of pantyhose and a metal hanger. You'd like rearrange the metal hanger and put the pantyhose over it, and then you could
tape it to a mic stand. Whose pantyhose were they?
That's a great quote. We would buy them from the student union.
Huh.
Yeah.
You guys would?
Yes. 100. We didn't care, man.
You guys were ahead of the curve.
Hey, man, we would buy cigarettes and pantyhose. I mean, I wonder what they thought was happening. Like, I don't know what you guys have planned.
Just a fun Friday night with the boys.
You know? But I don't know. I don't know what I want to do.
I don't know.
But
you'll figure it out. Plenty of time.
So we were having, the last thing we were going to say during housekeeping, we were having a pretty funny conversation. We were texting each other. We were having a conversation over text, and anytime we say AA in a text, it autocorrects to triple A, 3 A's.
Yeah.
And so we started, making jokes about like how much AAA has saved us, and how we just have to give our will over to AAA.
Well, I just I started going off on the 12 steps of AAA, of the Automobile Club of America. The first step is to admit that you're powerless over whether your car starts in the morning or not.
Right.
Shit. The second step came to believe that a mechanic greater than myself could start my car. Third step, make a decision to turn my keys over to the mechanic as I understand him. Fourth step, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of myself. Why the fuck did I leave the interior dome light on last night? Fifth step, admitted to the mechanic, myself, and my wife that I'm a moron for leaving the lights on. That's my Letterman.
Thank you,
top
Dave
10
Letterman. I love it. Because you can use that for anything that's ever helped you. Like, I've been in situations where nobody could help me.
Yeah.
There's nothing I could do. And I dialed that phone number and voila.
Yes.
My life was saved. I mean, how many times has AAA saved me?
How many times have I saved you?
Yeah, at least twice. At least twice. But when you couldn't be there, who was there for me?
God.
AAA.
Oh, AAA.
AAA.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got a very cool topic today. Our main topic discussion is the book by Paul Churchill called Alcohol is Shite.
Alcohol is shit.
Right.
Right.
I don't like to curse.
What I like about this episode is if we put shit or some kind of curse in the title, downloads go up by like 20%.
Do they really?
They do.
Okay.
People search for vulgarity on the internet.
I know.
Who knows? Okay. Alcohol is shit. By Paul Saddle Up Churchill.
Saddle up. He says saddle up every minute.
So who is...
saddle up? Are we getting on a horse? Where are we going on a horse?
Well, okay.
Towards sobriety?
So Paul Churchill is... Many of you don't know who he is, so I will tell you who he is. Paul Churchill is the guy who created the Recovery Elevator podcast that some of you may be familiar with, and also created the online community known as Cafe RE. For Recovery Elevator, I assume.
Wanted to join that.
Me too. It's $20 a month, and it's limited to 300 people in discrete groups, and everybody gets together and talks about recovery, and they have a book club, and they have all this other stuff. And I have to say, like, I found Recovery Elevator first when I stopped drinking. It was before I made my way over to Annie Grace, and I listened to a lot of podcasts, which Paul was hosting at the time. He has since turned the podcast over to Odette, who now runs it. And I confess that I sort of don't listen to it much anymore, but I kind of wasn't listening to it much when Paul was at the end of his tenure there either. But it definitely, their approach to recovery was sort of the first alternative approach that I had come across that wasn't AA. So I was fascinated by it. And Paul is a pretty engaging guy on his podcast.
He's a bit of a flake, but he's very smart.
He is. He grew up in Utah. And was like a Christian amongst Mormons,
right.
Which he mentioned in his book, that he grew up being excluded from birthday parties and whatnot since he wasn't a Mormon, LDS as they prefer to be called.
Right.
And then so he went to college, and at age 23 he moved to Granada, Spain. He had been there as an exchange student the year before. He moved back. He bought a bar. And during the next 3 years, he really developed a whopper of an alcohol problem, blacking out close to 7 nights a week. In the book, he talks about how he would wake up. He would go to bed at like 4 o'clock in the morning when the bar closed. He would wake up at 6. He would go to the convenience store across the street, buy a box of wine and 2 tall boys, drink all of like a liter of wine and 2 tall boys, fall back asleep, and then wake up, in a panic. And he did this for like 3 years until he had a panic attack that was so severe that he got into a cab and went to the hospital, and the doctor was like, there's nothing wrong with your heart, but you might want to cut back on the drinking a little bit, advice that he ignored. But at some point he realized that that perhaps owning a bar in Spain was not
sounds like
it's not a good way.
Dream.
I mean, doesn't it? And Granada, which I have been to that city, it is a gorgeous city. Night. I know it sounds wonderful.
Ruined it with drinking.
So in 2009, he walked away from the bar hoping to pull a geographic, and that coming back to the United States would somehow relieve the drinking problem. But he continued to drink for another 5 years until he took his last drink on September 6, 2014. In February of the next year, he launched Recovery Elevator when he was 6 months sober, I guess. Yeah. And he did it as an accountability tool for himself so that he would quit drinking. Because, when you're out there every week talking to people about being sober,
right?
As you know.
Yeah, it's great. This is my program.
This is my program too. And the podcast has been very successful. It's got 3 million downloads in the 95th percentile of all podcasts on iTunes, which is fucking crazy when you think about it.
Yeah. 3 million at the time of the writing, or is that the latest?
Well, the book came out in 2019.
Yeah.
So, probably even more.
Right. Like Dopey's at like over 5 million.
Is it really?
And they've been 5.6 now.
Wow. So Paul currently lives in Bozeman, Montana, and he no kids, no wife, but he does have a standard poodle named Ben that he hangs out with.
It's so weird, his deal with the poodle when he talks about it. It's so creepy, man. I love Paul Churchill, but man, the poodle thing is just so bizarre.
I don't know. I mean, you can get very attached to your dog.
He's like fetishizes the poodle. I don't want to like kill Paul about his dog, but it's weird.
I will say one thing in the book that when he was talking about how, alcohol makes you break your promises to people that you love. And he goes through this whole thing about, I'm sorry, Ben.
Ben
I know you're looking at me with those big brown eyes and I can't take you for a walk today, but
it's shticky, but I think he's serious.
I'm like, another person would do that about their children, maybe not about the dog.
Listen, a lot of people love their animals, and I'm guilty of that. But when you also have kids with your animals, you see that there is a big difference.
Kids with your animals?
When you have kids.
Is that even possible?
The kids are a lot like animals, but...
they are, like small feral animals.
Yes.
So he writes this book to capitalize on the success of the podcast. And I don't know. I read the book when it came... I listened to it, and he reads it. It's one of those books that
read by the author reads himself. Sometimes a disaster,
including he reads the typos. Did you notice that?
No,
there's a couple.
Really?
Yeah. When he talks about Noah on the ark, and he said Noah drank too much and passed out in his. The word should have been tent, but he said passed out in his tift or something. And, then I looked in the book, and the wrong word is in the book. But whatever, that's like, what a stupid thing to like.
I think he's doing shtick, though. He must be doing shtick. That's got to be on purpose.
I don't know.
So I like the book. I listened to it.
Like most of these books of like this type, that sort of fall into the stop drinking self-help category, I guess you'd call it. He starts by laying out the problem, right? And discussing how shitty and addictive alcohol is.
Yeah, it's like the Annie Grace type of stuff. It's along those same lines, which we both really like. It's the cognitive,
Yes.
He talks about some of the meditating though too.
Yeah, that's in the how to overcome the drinking.
Right.
But in the beginning, he and Annie Grace both fall into the whole the subconscious being where all the activity happens.
Yes.
Right?
Same thing with the Gabor Mate.
Right. And he cites both Annie Grace and Gabor Mate in his book. Talks about that a little bit. But he goes into the nature of addiction, which I thought was really interesting because he drew from a couple of different sources and kind of does a survey or overview of the current state of addiction science, which is basically addiction is complicated. It's a biological, genetic, social, political nexus.
That's what motivates the show too. I mean, that's what we're trying to do here is examine these things. It's complicated, and it's a biological, genetic, social, political. And what's the speaking of Latin, he teaches us some Latin.
Yes, addictus is the root of the word addiction, and you were an addictus. If you didn't pay your bills, you were apparently given to your creditor as a slave, and so slavery is at the root of the word addiction, which I thought was interesting.
And now
I did not know that.
Now when you don't pay someone, you're just a dick.
Right. Wait, we have a thing for that.
Right. I can't have to do sound effects.
And then he goes on to correctly, in my estimation, note that addiction begins and ends with pain or trauma.
Right.
I mean, and as we've discussed in the past, what's trauma for one may not be trauma for another. So it's very difficult to have an objective definition of trauma. Mm-hmm. Because he admits that he did not have any real trauma growing up, but he had some romantic issues, and he had the issues of being excluded as a child.
As a mark. And I love when I would hear people say that when I was in the rooms early on and I was going to meetings, and whenever I heard a speaker say I wasn't traumatized. I had a great childhood, but still I gravitated to this because that's my story. I wasn't traumatized. I mean, maybe there's some trauma there that's just like the grammatical trauma that I suffered under my father, constantly correcting my grammar and
constantly being corrected by a father is definitely something.
Right, but I wasn't like beat or whatever, any of that stuff. But it doesn't keep you from addiction.
Well, I was listening to another podcast last week. The one from the lady who lives in our town who I never remember the name. Soberful. And she's a therapist.
Veronica
Valley
yes.
And her buddy Chip.
Yes.
And they were talking about how this came up in their podcast, and they said when they work with people, they often ask them what their childhood was like, and they said, we had great childhoods. That's not at the root of anything, but all they have to do is scratch a little bit at the surface, and then they find the thing. There's always something.
Always something.
So obviously that's important, and then but he sort of goes through each one of those things in turn, like genetics and
genetics loads the gun.
Dopamine. Right, that whole expression of genetics loading the gun and environment pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
The expression of genetic predisposition is conditioned upon environment, but then he goes on to talk about how they've never been able to find a gene for addiction, but they have found that people with addictive natures, or whatever you want to call it, or who have developed addiction, have something called enhanced dopamine receptors on a particular gene in their head.
Right. And he said that the problem with that was the reason why that study doesn't prove that there's a gene is because they only tested for this after a person was already an alcoholic. So they think that you're not born with it, that it's environmentally based, that the dopamine, the difference in the dopamine processing or whatever, they only know about that it gets changed from abusive alcohol drinking and drugs, right?
Well, how would you test for it before?
Well, they would have to have a control group. I'm not a scientist, but the way I understand experimentation and so forth is that there's a control group. And blah, blah, blah. So the control group would be the group of people that match the socioeconomic demographics of the other group, except they're before and these people are after, because you can't predict the normal person, so to speak.
Or can you? Or can you look at these people's genes, find this dopamine gene, and then see if it's mutated, and then see how many of those people become alcoholics.
Right. But I think Paul's point, though, is that, we shouldn't say that it's my genes and there's nothing we can do. A lot of people have that attitude.
Genes are not your destiny.
Right. I mean, whether they be Levi's or
Wranglers.
Thank you. I was I'm not going to be able to think of this. But I think that's an important point that he's making is listen, everybody's saying, I have this disease. I was born with it. It's in my family. And saying all of those things may not even be true. And on top of that, it may be stopping you because you're always telling yourself, this is how I'll always be. This is how I am. It's my dad was this way. His father was that way. But the truth is, you're different, and you're not encased and trapped by your genetic history when it comes to addiction.
You are not, but I would like to know a little bit more about these EDRs, or enhanced dopamine receptors, and how that plays into addiction. Because if you are a person that has this predisposition, when does that kick in? Is it after the first binge drunk? Is it after a year? Is it after 2? Because
how long does it take for your genes to be altered, your DNA to be altered?
Because if it is after a short period of time, then what you're getting is a biological reinforcement every time you abuse your substance of choice. Right. So is that not a genetic? Does the gene not have an outsized effect on your addiction rather than the other psychosocial stuff?
it's one of those things that I'm waiting for scientists to tell me.
I mean, I think the whole thing
Science will tell me
I think it's
someday.
incredibly complicated, the way genetics interacts with environment and reinforcement and just simple cognitive stuff that goes on in your head. Because if you're getting rewarded every time you do a bad behavior, you're just going to keep doing it, which brings us to the rat experiment, where the
Rat Park.
Yeah,
so cool.
So the conventional wisdom, and there's been many studies that have shown that if you put a rat in a confined environment with two levers, one is water that has just water in it, and the other is water with cocaine, the rat will continuously push the cocaine lever until it drops dead.
Hey, who wouldn't?
Right. Seems reasonable to me. But so another scientist took that one step further and decided he was going to test the hypothesis that it was the cocaine that was the addictive agent. But he set up a rat park. I think we may have talked about this. Anyway, the rat park had all kinds of great shit in it, like rat mazes, slides, Netflix,
and
whatever.
HGTV,
the whole nine. That's what Paul says in the book, right? HGTV playing It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on it, which I've never watched, but apparently some people like that show.
He also loves Third Eye Blind, which drives me crazy.
I can't even. But and what they found when you put the rat in Rat Park with other rats and a big environment and lots of room to play around in is that they gave the rat the choice of an opiate water or water with some kind of opiate agent in it, or the plain water. And in this particular case, the rat went for the plain water more. Now, I don't know why they didn't replicate that study using cocaine, because in my mind,
that would be apples to apples.
Yeah, because I think there's a difference. I mean, it's all dopamine receptors, but if I'm pressing the cocaine lever, I'm going to keep pressing the cocaine lever whether I'm sitting in a really nice penthouse on Park Avenue or whether I'm sitting in a crack house in the Bronx.
Did any of the rats write a concept album and try and record it in one night? Because that's what cocaine did for me.
Do you have those?
Yes.
Files? I would love to listen to that.
I have the ultimate file.
Let's fucking rework it, man, and put it out.
Wait till I'll send it to you. I kept one of my the craziest produced recordings I ever did. It's crazy. Yeah. It changes from heavy metal to jazz and techno all in 1 minute. I'm not even joking.
That is fucking awesome.
So
anyway,
but in Rat Park, the point was that the rats had a socially supportive environment.
The opposite of addiction is connection.
And who said that? I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name
The TED Talks
either.
guy. He's British and he's not an addict, but he's a child of an alcoholic. And
not Gaber Mate?
No. Addiction and Connection is this young, maybe he's just from Europe. He's a Brit or
we linked
Irish.
to him in our first episode.
I know. Right? It's on the first.
So long ago.
We'll do it again. But, and so this is sort of what Paul is saying kind of proves to him, at least in rats, that when they're not alone in a single room, even if there is drugs available, they don't want it either as much, or they don't end up being connected because they have all of this family connection, friends, things to do.
Yeah, except that's bullshit, because you can be, as you know, if you're addicted to some kind of drugs, your family and all your social connections and all goes by the wayside and to continue to use the drug.
Yeah.
So I have real questions about that study. I know Dr. Carl Hart also makes a big deal about that. And Mate also, and I have
because
to,
I was connected before I started using. I was well connected.
Exactly.
I had my family. So why did I start?
So
that didn't stop me from.
The whole
is
addiction a disease? Is it not a disease? It's really back and forth.
And maybe it doesn't matter.
I don't know if it matters. Maybe it matters in how you treat it, and maybe it matters insofar as medically accepted.
Right.
Medically assisted treatment is accepted or it's not accepted, right? Because
if it's a willpower thing,
alcohol has been classified as a disease since 1956, right? And they know that alcohol remolds neural circuits that assign value to alcohol over other things like work and family,
right?
So disease, not a disease.
Yeah, what they explained to me in some of my initial intensive outpatient when they do the education portion of it, they call it psychoeducation, because I guess they're educating a bunch of psychos. I don't know. I always thought that was funny, but they teach you that you have your brain has a threshold. I've talked about this before, but it's important. It bears repeating. There's a limit, right, to where you feel good. And when you feel a cool breeze on a warm day, you see a beautiful sunset, you gaze into your child's eyes and you see yourself in him, and those things make you feel satisfied, make you feel happy. Okay. And that goes up to this limit, right? But when you take cocaine, when you snort cocaine or a drug, that threshold is busted by, like, I think it was 400%, and they have different percentages depending on the drug. The worst was meth, I think, as far as how high it boosts it. And so once you bust through that limit, then that cool breeze on a warm day, that looking at your child doesn't make you feel good anymore. So you have to, it's a matter of survival to feel better, to feel good. You keep having to break that limit, and then it hits there's a place where it can't go up anymore. And a lot of addicts report this, that I'm just trying to get well. I'm trying to feel okay, you know.
So is that a biochemical issue or a social issue?
Well, that is biochemical. You know, that's your brain chemistry.
Well, the only thing that'll get you back up to that place is more biochemistry.
Right, which is why I was prescribed, you know, Prozac, Depakote, all that stuff. Yeah. And guess what? I'm not on any of that anymore.
That's good.
And that was with
your
a doctor.
Dopamine things are returning to normal, to baseline.
It feels that way because I'm happy. I'm not always happy. Things are hard, but
nobody's always happy.
No, and if they are, they're lying to you or trying to sell you something. So. But overall, you know, I get those good feelings. Sometimes when my kid hugs me, I have that good feeling. So drugs destroy that, and you lose all your interests. I lost all my interests. You know, I loved chess. You know, I loved video games. I loved all the things that I love to do, playing guitar, playing in bands, just being interested in stuff that all disappeared until the only thing I wanted to do was whatever drug I happened to be addicted to that decade.
Right.
You know.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Addiction is a bitch.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug. So Paul himself does not fully adhere to the disease model, right? He sees addiction as the combination of enhanced dopamine receptors, trauma, lack of emotional support in adolescence, false advertising by big alcohol he brings in,
that's big with Naked Mind.
But what he says that you know, the bell started going off to me is that addiction is not a defect of character or a moral failing, which
and that's
considering
important.
that he comes out of AA, I thought that was an interesting statement. He got sober with 12-step.
Listen, so here's where you're wrong about AA and 12-step. Their whole shtick-ola is that this isn't a moral failing. Or that's one of the things they say is that you can't control this. You're not a bad person.
You can't control this.
Can't.
Right.
You can't control it, but you're not a bad. You know, hate the addiction, love the addict. That's
So why are we writing lists of our character defects?
So you can identify the things that are screwing your life up and attempt to fix them.
So what do your character defects have to do with your enhanced dopamine receptors?
Well, they may be tied in together forever. It may be completely enmeshed.
What does focusing incessantly on your character defects have to do with recovering from addiction?
It has to do with...
This isn't a quiz, by the way.
Right. It has to do with identifying the things that are holding you back in your life, like... You know, I'm afraid to meet new people. Okay, that's a character defect. Now, and that's like a subconscious conscious thing. You're bringing things into the fore that maybe, you know, it took a sponsor or someone else to say, hey, the reason why, you know, you feel isolated at this meeting or that is because you have this fear, and that's a personality defect. So therefore, now that we're aware of it, it's at the top of your consciousness. What are we going to do about it?
So the idea is to bring the subconscious into the conscious mind by closely looking at your moral failings and asking God to remove them.
You don't even have to use the word moral. You could just say things.
I think it says it in the steps, doesn't it?
They don't use the word moral in the steps. No.
Humbly asking God to remove our defects of character.
Defects of character. Yeah. Things you do, like you eat with your mouth open, or, you know.
God can remove that?
You point at things.
I got to talk to him about that.
You pray to God to give you the strength to try and be a better person. And I think there's a lot more parallels between AA and these things. It's just the way they're presenting it, because they're trying to do the same thing as, you know, Paul Churchill and Annie Grace, which is these things that you don't realize you're doing, we're going to realize it, and we're going to cognitively, you know, and if it's a praying to God or the universe to help you do it.
So you don't have the power to unfuck yourself, basically. God has to do it for you.
Okay, so in AA, you don't have the power. You're giving it to God.
Disagree.
Right, me too. But I always say, if you ask God to move a mountain, you better bring a shovel. That's my philosophy.
Right.
So
there's only one prayer. It's thy will be done. God's not going to come down and help you out. in my mind, but that's me.
Unless you know his brother-in-law, and in which case...
Well, it always helps to know somebody in the family.
That's it. Moving on.
Yeah, sorry.
Addiction is a pathological form of learning. I like that.
I like that too.
What does that even mean? Addiction is... Oh, I know. I'm raising my hand. I know. I think that addiction is a pathological form of learning means, you do it that first time, and then your body learns, just like we said, learns like, oh, this spiked my dopamine. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
Right.
And it kind of tricks you, like the pitcher plant. The pitcher plant.
Yeah.
Annie Grace talks about.
And then
so much.
all of that other stuff
falls to the wayside.
No, it all the social stuff sort of works together and pushes you in a certain direction. Sort of carries you along.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I'm listening to this book, and I'm like, I really like it. I agree with him. I think a lot of this is very important. But again, we have the same problem that, Dave from Dopey said. I don't know if he said it on our show or to me when we were talking about it. He was talking about, like, well, how good is this for, like, the acute sufferer? Like, if I think about where I was the day before my last relapse, or the day of, there's no book out there. There's no sponsor. There's no nothing.
So the big book included.
Everything goes out the window when I was there. So what I had to do was get desperate, like get real desperate, save my life desperate, fight or flight for the right reasons, to the right place. And that's me. I mean, maybe that was me using my will.
So what was the right place?
The right place was to go to, for me, it was go back to my therapy place, where I was going to groups, and my psychiatrist after my OD. And we said, okay, what do we do now?
Right.
And he had a plan. Thank God I had this psychiatrist who...
Sounds like he was a good psychiatrist.
He's the best. He actually saved... He definitely was one of those guys. He prescribed me naltrexone and Camprol. I've talked about this before. And it was all to suppress cravings for everything. And that's what those drugs do. I went on those medications, and I decided from then on, I'm going to do whatever this motherfucker says. No matter what. I'm doing it because I've never done it before. I've never done all this and gone to meetings, at this place with a clinical licensed therapist. It wasn't 12-step. It was like outpatient with a real, actual clinical therapist and other people. And I was engaging in 12-step, studies and thinking and reading the literature. And 6 months of doing that, I didn't crave alcohol once. And because I didn't crave alcohol, I didn't drink alcohol. And because I didn't drink alcohol, I didn't do cocaine. And so on.
Interesting point, because somebody posted something on the Dopey board the other day, like, who are these people that do drugs without drinking? And I was like, I totally identify with that. I could count on one hand the amount of times I did cocaine when I wasn't drunk first. Yeah. I mean, literally one hand. It was the first time I bought Coke.
Yes.
It was the second time I bought Coke, which was 20 minutes after the first time I bought Coke, and maybe one other time.
Yeah, because that's I totally, that's me too. It always went together like
that there are people that don't drink. They just go out and do drugs. Like, I'm like, how does that even happen?
When I was addicted to heroin, I didn't drink for a long time because unless I couldn't get my shit, and so I started to get sick. So sometimes I would drink to try and alleviate the anxiety. Yeah.
Paul mentions that about alcohol, how there's some interplay with opioid receptors and alcohol, which is why some people who are addicted to heroin can drink and have that work as a stopgap.
Yeah,
which I did not know. I didn't know alcohol had much to do with opiate receptors at all. But
and I think the point here is that we don't understand the brain the way we sort of need to make these kinds of claims. Everything right now, and that's why it's so ripe for study, and because there's all of these discoveries being made. And part of the problem, I'll say, with the big book, and a lot of people point this out, Bill W. in the big book says, he makes the point that there is no medicine available at this time that can fix this.
Right.
And he was right. But today, I will tell you, I am an example of a person who modern medicine helped to, recover. So, and then so true AA purists who are fundamentalists that read the big book will tell you that he was saying, what would Bill have said had he known about all these modern developments in craving medicine? Maybe he would have said, MAT is great, because back then there really wasn't medicated assisted
I think he
treatment.
would have jumped on it.
It was hydrotherapy, which is just like a fire hose watering people down or something. Like
I'd like to try that.
Electrotherapy, shock
I
treatment.
would not like to try that.
Shock treatment is a thing again.
Well,
I was offered that.
Proven effective for some kinds of depression. Right?
Yeah. One psychiatrist I had for Suboxone prescriptions at one point, he had the machine. He's like, oh, I got this new thing. It's the newest thing in addiction. And he ended up dying of brain cancer months later. No, that's actually true.
It's just interesting to me that, AA is the whole thing is predicated on the fact that it's a disease, and yet medical intervention is looked at with suspicion.
Yes.
And so I don't know, but whatever. I'm not going to turn this into another AA bashing session.
No, I love AA, and I'm still, and you're still giving me shit about saying things like, I'm looking to go back, and
I would not give you shit. I said I did not give you shit about that.
Yeah, but by saying I'm not giving you shit is like I am giving you shit.
I'm not even trying to passively aggressively give you shit or gaslight you. Go back to AA if you feel that
was passive aggressive gaslighting right there. In saying that.
Hey,
You may be a lawyer, but I was raised by lawyers, and one is
poor bet, and you claim you have no trauma.
Well, that is something for another show, but that is part one. I think we're going to close it out here.
Yeah, because
I have to
stay tuned next week, because Paul gets into his method of how to unfuck yourself, and I'll just give you a hint. It involves copious amounts of meditation, self-awareness, and perhaps some
heavy petting of his standard poodle, and that is not a euphemism.
And I want to say ibogaine, but that's not what I mean. It's the other one. Ayahuasca. Because Paul did, in the middle of his journey,
he tripped.
He went down to Colombia and did a bunch of ayahuasca, and the show changed after that.
Yeah, so did Paul, but we are happy to hear about it. So At this time, we are going to take a break for our middle-aged urination festival.
Hey, Nat. Nat, what time is it?
It is 10:38.
Nat, what time is it?
It's time for Recovery in the News.
Still, even after whatever, we're at 33 episodes, that theme song just, I don't know. We should replace it with something that's like a ticker.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like the newsroom.
Yeah,
let's do it.
This song just came with the board. That's why I use it.
And I've heard it on another podcasts too. I'm like, I know that
really?
sound. Yeah, it's because it's stock.
Okay.
What is this article?
So today's Recovery in the News, there was an article in the New York Times this week titled, "Excessive Drinking Rose During the Pandemic. Here are ways to cut back." Many Americans increased their alcohol
That's rosé,
intake.
I think. Drinking rosé during the pandemic.
What?
Oh, rose. It got higher.
Yeah, it got higher.
Oh, shit.
Along with everybody else.
I'll stop interrupting. Go.
With women and parents of young children disproportionately affected. So, like a lot of these articles that have come across our radar lately, this one discusses about how drinking has increased during the pandemic. And I know subsequent to, well, there's a legal term. I know that after I sent you this article, you sent me a couple from the local paper that talked about ODs being up and everything.
And then the New York Times came out with an article about that too.
So obviously pandemic bad for drinking and using drugs.
Yep.
What I found interesting about this particular article was the fact that the New York Times, rather than suggest that maybe people who have been, their drinking has gotten out of control during the pandemic, rather than them stop drinking, they should instead moderate their drinking.
Here's how to moderate.
Here's how to moderate.
An addictive poison that destroys your life.
And they give examples of people that have moderated through a program called moderation management. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if
that's a program.
If any of you have come across moderation management in your abstention days. Assuming you're recovering by not drinking, my mouth has just stopped working at this point in the podcast.
Long show.
Everybody sets rules, okay, and this whole article, it go through like 4 or 5 people who have each set these rules around their drinking, like so many of us have when we tried to quit drinking. Right. I'm only going to drink. Jesus Christ! I'm only going to drink every.
Can you turn your phone off somehow?
I'm only going to drink every other day. I'm going to only drink one glass. Right. I'm going to, and they cite moderation management as some sort of program that you can interface with to cut down on your drinking. And so I wrote my own little letter in response to this article to the New York Times, where I said,
yes.
It is perhaps noteworthy that the founder of Moderation Management committed suicide after killing a father and daughter while drunk driving. Ooh. This was several months after she left the program she founded for a stint in AA because she was unable to moderate her drinking. Moderation is difficult for most because alcohol is an addictive poison. Contrary to recent news articles, the overwhelming science finds that moderate consumption delivers no health benefits and, in fact, can lead to serious problems. And I said, if you have an alcohol use disorder, you're better served by abstaining entirely rather than by attempting to moderate. So 221 people agreed with me.
They let it. They posted
it. They posted it, and I got some love, and a bunch of doctors.
Did you post a link to our show?
No, because I actually posted this under my real name. So if anybody now wants to find out who I am, they just have to go to the Times article. But
that's awesome.
But it just goes to show you exactly how deep the hologram goes. That the advice is not to quit drinking. The advice is to, maybe you can by trying this, that. And so I'm reading this, the one person in here who said, Miss Carbone, who's, as her stress levels soared, so did her alcohol intake. And she was saying that she was drinking a bottle of wine a night. And then she said, but now I only have one glass. I limit myself to one glass.
So her cancer risk is only up by 15%.
Only up by 15%. Okay. But I remember thinking, I thought to myself as I read that, like, Jesus Christ, if that were me, I would make sure that glass was like a 12-ounce glass, that it was topped off to the top every night. And if I was out and I got a small glass, I would justify having 2 because 2 of them together would equal the one glass that I had. So I don't understand moderation. Maybe it works for some people. It doesn't work for me.
Well, look, it works for my wife,
Well, she doesn't have an alcohol problem.
Well, but she still drinks at least a glass a day. And, I don't know. It's so interesting being in our position, with wives not in a program or not trying to abstain.
Right.
Because it's hard not to unsee or unlearn what we know. Mm-hmm. And then when you're watching someone you love, presumably, fall into that trap, it's like there's almost nothing you can do except live an exemplary life so that people, and that's the way we do it as Presbyterians, when you don't go around proselytizing the word of God and saving people, you just try and live your best life, and you let people see that and say, well, why is he so happy? Like, why are you doing so well? I was like, I haven't had a drink in 3 years, right. And that's part of it,
It is.
And, you can't tell people certain things.
Well, no prophet is with honor in his own country, though, right? I don't think my wife has a drinking problem. I don't think your wife has a drinking problem.
But they're still drinking something that's hurting them in the way I see it.
But people do all kinds of shit that's bad for them.
Including me, like this ridiculous diet.
Those chicken wings you were eating the other day.
I only had 6.
How do you stop at 6 wings?
I am practiced in not eating like a freaking slob.
I eat wings compulsively. I eat wings like they're cocaine.
Well, this is how I lost 26 pounds. I did a food detox, but go on.
So it's like a cognitive behavioral therapy for food.
100%.
That's all I have to say. Shame on you, New York Times. You should have at least thrown a link to a sobriety program of your choice in there, as well as recommending moderation. Yeah,
the editors and writers are all drunk, so it's very difficult.
That's true. Anyway, that's Recovery in the News.
Yeah. All right. So
usually at this time, what happens next, Nat?
This Week in Weird. Real Housewives, look for Bigfoot. In an entertaining mix of two strange worlds, the latest edition of the reality TV program Real Housewives of Dallas,
of course,
saw the ladies embark on a search for Bigfoot. The plot, such as it was, of the program reportedly centered around Stephanie Holloman, one of the stars of the wildly popular Bravo series, taking her cohorts on a road trip vacation to Oklahoma. Shortly after their arrival, she surprises them by revealing that she has enlisted prominent local Sasquatch enthusiast Charles Benton, who
prominent local Sasquatch enthusiast,
who claims to have once encountered the creature, to lead them on a hunt for the famed cryptid. I love the word cryptid. Although the ladies bitingly dismiss the existence of Bigfoot in private confessional interviews, most of them humor Benton as he vividly recounts his experience running into the creature so long ago. I'm going to stop there because this is amazing. I saw this because I get these in my email from Coast to Coast AM.
Some of this is far removed from their posh lives in Dallas. The ladies are understandably uneasy as they wade through the forest wielding machetes.
I love
what
this
are they
article.
Gonna do? They going to machete Bigfoot?
Of course, it would not be a reality television program without some proverbial sparks flying. Some proverbial sparks. And that occurred when star Carrie Brittingham had a few too many drinks.
There you go.
Oh my God.
There's the tie-in.
Yes. And she had too many drinks and took issue with the Sasquatch enthusiast's proclivity for hunting. This resulted in her berating the good-natured Benton, who was admirably unfazed throughout the very uncomfortable moment, which elicited disgust from stars of the show. Unfortunately, as one may have surmised, the ladies did not find Bigfoot during their expedition, though they did stumble upon plenty of drama, which is what we're guessing was the real purpose of the hunt.
Reality TV.
Boom.
Gotta love it.
Weak and weird. Well, that about does it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Visit us at middleagesrecovery.com. Join the discussion on our exclusive and private Facebook group. If you need to talk, don't hesitate to reach out to us on social media.
And we will respond by our bot sending you the link to our latest show, apparently.
No, we're really there. So if you want to reach out, it's me or Mike. There's nobody else. Check out our show notes. It's a lot of the work Mike puts into them is worth checking out. They're funny sometimes. Sometimes he hits. Sometimes it's a miss.
Yeah,
Facebook.
Do what I can.
Look us up on social media. It's Recovery in the Middle Ages in the search box. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Tweet us at what you twit. And go to Apple Podcasts. It's an app on your Apple phone.
In case you don't know.
Click it, search for us, and then click on the Drunk Monk. That's our logo guy. And 5-star reviews will be read on the air. And we'll see. Oh, and new merch. We always want to talk about new merch. Please.
We'll have it at some point.
Please. We have the merch. We just don't have
we got some shirts, a couple of keychains. Come on. Send us some emails. Send us some love.
I know. I'm working on website stuff.
Okay.
As we say, non proficiat perfectum.
Progress, not perfection.
See you next time.
Be very good.